I'm with Keith Willetts, who's just released his new book, Unzipping the Digital World. Keith, thanks for taking some time. In terms of building up your thoughts and creating your ideas for this book, would like to focus on any geographical view you were taking and where you think, or what geographies you think are really leading this revolution.
Yeah, there's no doubt that we've gone from a very developed world-centric communications market. Even only 5 or 10 years ago, we were looking at really only a fraction of the world being connected. Today we have 6 billion people, virtually everybody that can be is connected. Africa is now the world's second largest mobile market. Probably the biggest developments are in Asia, Southeast Asia, India, China, and the Malay Peninsula, and so on, where we're seeing, I think, now 75% of the world's fiber to the home is now in Asia. It's not in America, it's not in Western Europe. So just like sometimes you get on a beautiful airport in Southeast Asia and you arrive back at Heathrow and question which is the developing country, you know, you see that now in communications. And I would hazard a guess is, you know, a very big percentage of the world's software that's driving the communications computing revolution, the whole digital revolution, is now centered in India and in China. And we've seen over the last few years the emergence of Chinese suppliers, ZTE, Huawei, and so on, really storming onto the world stage and causing significant disruption. And we're really only in the foothills of that revolution. So their markets, their home markets are big, which drives their ability to invest, and then they can come into the rest of the world and disrupt.
Do you see them offering the same type of sophistication in services that we see here in Western Europe? I understand they're serving vast numbers of subscribers, they are getting the fiber to the home, but is it really as sophisticated as what we see here?
In pockets. I mean, in some parts of the world, they're still in the, you know, get the towers out there, get the fiber out there, hit the mass markets. But in parts of the world, Singapore, Hong Kong, you see huge sophistication of services and very advanced thinking and very creative thinking. So no, not generally, but you can no longer say that all the innovation is somewhere west of here. It's becoming it's still a lot of creativity out on the west coast of the US. Let's not just say it's all moving eastwards. Sure. But in terms of the development of this market, there are hotspots happening around the world. And there are very interesting business models emerging in Asia. If we look at one of the themes of the book, which is that the communications industry peels apart into an infrastructure business, service business, and a consumer or enterprise service business. Look at what Nucleus Connect has done in Singapore. You have one of the most advanced infrastructures owned by a consortium of the people who use it, service providers who use it. Commercially very successful, very advanced. Look at that fiber rollout in Malaysia that we heard about this week. So the business models where governments are taking the view, instead of their regulators beating the industry to a pulp, and that was their mandate in the West, of breaking the monopolies. The regulators and governments in many parts of the developing world, and you kind of almost can't use that term anymore because they're in many cases more developed, they're encouraging investment and encouraging a digital economy because they know it directly equates to development of their country. So in the book, I've got a whole chapter on how I think regulation should change to more of that guiding and enabling. Yes, there are some policeman roles. There are policeman roles over privacy. There are policeman roles over security. There are policeman roles over universal access. But in the main, it's about encouraging and enabling rather than preventing. And we still see a lot of preventing behavior from regulators in the West.
I know there's tremendous innovation now coming out of China in terms of hardware and technology to drive these networks. Where's the software coming from? Is it still mainly coming out of Western Europe?
In the main, yes, it is. Though we're starting to see change there. I mean, geographically, they may be Western firms, but an awful lot of the software is developed in Bangalore, in India, and increasingly in China and in Southeast Asia, as development shops for Western firms. But on the back, really, of the Huawei ZTE success, we are now seeing Chinese software companies who've developed a home market. A company I've taken an interest in recently, Asia Info, has 60% of the Chinese telecom software market, but most people never heard of them, who are now starting to look at can they apply that outside of China, and they'll have a lot to learn in how to do that and how to structure their products and how to go to market and so on. But I think you'll see more of that coming out.
So you think it's credible for a Chinese company that develops software actually to market it internationally as well?
Yeah, I mean, there's no hiding the fact that there have been some bumps along the way for Chinese players in certain parts of the world where people are worried about security and so on, and that's undoubtedly going to apply to Chinese software companies just as much as Chinese hardware companies. But I see the world getting over that. You know, the BT's was one of the first companies in the world to take on Huawei big time, and they get over their security worries by having, you know, very thorough inspection facilities, and you know, I think you'll see more of that kind of thing. So it's not going to be easy, but I think we'll see this globalization of these kind of markets happening over. We're talking, you know, Chinese think in 50, 100-year cycles, but we're not talking 50, 100 years, we're talking next 5 to 10 years. It'll be quite normal to see Chinese software companies.
And does Asia Info have clients outside China already?
They have some. I'm not overly familiar with them at this stage, but you know, they're starting to build a client base in near-in countries to China.
All right, well, thanks a lot for the time. Sounds like an interesting year ahead with that new project.
Yep, thank you very much.